Good evening, students. This is Professor Estrada with your 1301 Section 85 online class. This is simply a video to kind of help navigate how to get to certain things within the weekly folder of Week 1, Part 1, and Part 2. So first things first, I'm going to go into the home page. This is the home page on where you start in with Brightspace. On the left side, I will always have announcements on the home page. These are announcements of recap videos or any information that you could need for the course in regards to the week, what we did during the week, or simply a review of what is to come. It will always tell you due dates and important reads. It will always tell you a little bit about what's going on, but just pace yourself with it. I do just like to be orderly and just help out, especially with the navigation of what this course is. To the right side, you will have my info. It does have my office hours pertaining to the Hillsborough College campus. My number is right here. This is my email, aestrada@hillcollege.edu. And this is something important that I wanted to point out. While you have these modules right here, this one says work to do, and this one at the bottom says calendar. I would suggest always going up to this first top blue tab, the ribbon. And while yours as a student may look different, I would like you to click on content. Content is where the majority of the information for the class and the majority of everything that you can find is going to be found there, especially with instructions. So we're going to go in. I simply clicked on the button and this is what opened up. The first tab already opened up to the welcome to the class. I have to manually click on the tabs or the modules on the left side tab for things to open. So now you have a lovely welcome video for your class, and you have to open the link for it to go to YouTube, but it is a link for you to watch. There's also the video link. I think it got posted twice, so you're more than welcome to go whichever way. If I click on this, it will take me to the YouTube video. It's just simple navigation of what this class is, its overview, and the objectives. I am now going to scroll down on the left side tab, and this is the second tab. It says course syllabus and schedule. So here is the syllabus. When you click on this link with the paper clips, they indicate that it is a link that will take you somewhere else. So this one automatically takes me to the simple syllabus, which is right here. But it is a syllabus for the course. You can always navigate that at any time. You can open the link to get you there, but I also included the PDF file of the course. It has it exactly how you would see the syllabus, except this is just the course calendar. It just tells you what's in everything involving the weeks, taking out the content of what the syllabus is, the rulings, standard things like that. This is just the course content, so it just kind of helps you on seeing at a glance what's happening in every week, due dates, and all that important things. So again, I have to manually click on the left side tab to open things for specific folders. So the next one I'm going to do is open up the late pass policy. This is, if you've read it this far into the syllabus, it's just a fancy way of saying extensions. Some teachers offer extensions or late work. I do both. So extensions for me are just specifics. If you need something and you just need a couple more hours to add so that it's not counted late, this is for you. This late pass policy for me will allow you up to 2 extra days so that an assignment or a specific one is not due or not get counted late. In the event that you just needed a couple hours, that is what it's for. I also scrolled down here and I included a format or template for you to use. It just says from you, the student, late pass as the subject line. It says Professor Estrada, this is so-and-so. I will be using late pass number 1, and you're going to indicate what assignment it's for. And you can tell me what specific assignment is for so that I can write that in my records. And you're allowed up to 2 assignments. Most essays you can, except our last one, which is a research paper. And due to its pacing and grading, that's the only thing that you can't use a late pass for. But this is just breathing room. When things happen and everything's due, from week to week, as we open up on a weekly folder from a Monday, it will be due on a Sunday night. So you have that entire time to work and complete things in a weekly folder. So that is what your late pass is for. It's for specific things you're only given 2. So use them wisely. You don't have to say why you need to use them. I just simply take that in my notes. So the next thing that I want to point out is there is a book that we are utilizing within this course. It's not an official textbook. It is a guide that will help you understand the writing process. And part of the writing process is looking at it from a different perspective. So this is my they say, I say text. Within this folder, you will see the book. Now, it doesn't download right now. You have to click on this button right here for it to click on. And so sometimes it takes a while for it to download depending on your internet connectivity or your browser, but it should be a PDF. And so by way of when a specific folder or section says certain pages, relay to those specific pages. When you see this scrolling bar, it'll say page 1 of 158. However, when you get to scrolling on the pages, they'll say different numbers than what you see. So let's just say down here, if I'm asking you to read pages 1 through, 18. So notice that these pages, page 2 on the book is different than what this page on the scrolling bar will be. There will always be differences, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. But let's go in. So this is the week 1 folder. So our schedule is by week. So weekly would be week 1, which started on Monday, October 20th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And it continues until our Sunday. And so week 1 is what you will be completing, as well as week 1 part 1. Week 1 part 1 and week 1 part 2. So both of these you do in the same week, and that's just week 1, and then we'll go into week 2. So week 1, as I said, runs through October 20th, 8 o'clock in the morning, all the way to October 26th at 11:59. Okay, and so let's go into that week 1 folder so that you can see how I'm getting there and what I'm doing. So notice on the left side tab, I have to scroll down with my mouse to get to specific things. However, on the right side tab, it does tell me what those things are before I even open the folder. So it tells you if you are looking at something, reading something, uploading something, viewing something, and it will always tell you due dates. So this one's just simply saying that the week 1 part 1 lecture slides are in here. The icebreaker discussion board. You are going to simply skim a handout, the PDF versions available, and then following the handout to write in a discussion board. And then this word count link is just a way to count words, because discussion boards will ask for specific word counts. That just simply helps you count your words instead of using Google Doc or Microsoft Word. And so notice that the things that you need to do in completion for a grade will be having a due date. And so their weekly due date is Sunday, October 26th. So the things to do in this specific folder, week 1 part 1, is for a grade would be the icebreaker discussion board and discussion board number 1. Okay, and so it just says week 1 part 1 content is Sunday, October 26th at 11:59. But it does say, while the calendar may say Thursday, October 30th, that's just giving it the 4 extra days that you are allowed to turn in something late. But its specific date is Sunday, October 26th at 11:59. This just means that every day afterwards, leading up to 4 days, I deduct 25 points. And after that Thursday at October 30th at 11:59, if it's not received, then it is a 0 according to the grade book. So let me go ahead and show you what those look like. So you're going to simply click on the week 1, day 1 lecture slides. And so at a glance, they should pop up like this. These are lecture slides. Feel free to go through these. It just tells you at a glance what the class is about, what you should be looking towards. And if we were in person, this is what I would be showing within the classroom. But I hope that these are helpful for you. It also tells you the components of the content, which I just showed you as well, but they tell you as if you want to look at these in better picture. So the next thing is the icebreaker discussion board. So I'm going to have to click on the icebreaker discussion board. And because people have already mentioned or replied, there should be a few of them in here. But let me go in and show you. So this says icebreaker discussion board. it just says to introduce yourself to the class, pick a few of these, and reply in complete sentences. It does tell you the same date as what you will be seeing for week 1, part 1. So this is still found within that due date of a whole entire week. And so you're going to simply start a thread. You're clicking on the start thread. You can put whatever title you want. And this is just my example for the video. And so if you're watching this later on, you'll be able to see this and wonder why I wrote random stuff. And so this is simply in real time what I'm doing. And I am going to go ahead and post. If there are additional threads in the folder, lo and behold, a few people have already welcomed themselves in. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Okay. So I can exit out of it, or I can just quickly go back to my original tab where my content is. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is the effective handout. Your instructions are simply to glance at this. You don't have to print it. It's just simply something that I would like you to do in regards to how you are a writer and what you use effectively or not. And just to kind of reflect on what you could be useful in, or something that you need to work on as the class progresses, in the hopes that this class does help you. It is a handout, so you're simply going to skim. There's no quiz or anything like that. Just simply look at it. But after you read this PDF, I would like you to go into the discussion board number 1, what makes an effective writer. So they both go hand in hand with the same keyword. And this is the discussion board for it. It says, after reading, skimming the handout posted in that same folder of what a writer is, complete the following. Write your own post. This is where you start your new thread and follow its word count. If its word count specifically says for your post to be within a number of words, that is where you either look to make sure that you fulfill those word counts. But it does tell you that you can use a paragraph of 4 sentences just as long as you answer all of these. You don't have to answer paragraph per each letter. That would be exhausting, just as long as all of these are answered within a paragraph. But the second thing is to be sure to reply to other people. So this one's saying that you need to reply to 2 to 4 other people. It does tell you your response to them needs to be 100 to 150 words per student. And if you don't know how to compliment, I've offered some friendly compliment remarks right here. And again, within the same due date. And then you would be clicking on the start thread button the same way. So I'm simply going to click on it so that you can see that it should load. And if it doesn't, I'm so sorry. But let's just put example for video, so that way you see it. Example for video. And I'm going to put this so you're seeing this in real time. And people after they're watching this are going to notice that. And so I'm going to have to go all the way down to make sure that I do post. Make sure that it does get posted. Okay. And so the next thing is the word count. So this is simply an additional resource. It's nothing that you have to do, but it does count words for discussion boards. It's just a simple free website that I found. And if you're looking for something to count your words for discussion boards or replies to others, this is really helpful. You are more than welcome to write the discussion board in here and then copy paste it back into the discussion board, or you could do it a different way. I just found this website very helpful for a lot of students, so that way if you're counting words, that's what that is. Okay, we're now going to click on the week 1 part 2 folder. Okay, and remember that I have to click on it for it to go down. It opens up on the left side tab all the things that you will need, but on the right side tab it does tell you what those things are. So in this specific online folder, you'll see the following contents: the week 1 day 2 lecture slides. I went ahead and opened up this entire week for you, so that way you can see it at a glance and not have to wait specific days. There is the idea that within this folder, you're going to be reading the they say, I say text. So you're going to have to go back to the left side tab, or the right side tab, the left side tab, and you're going to have to go all the way back up and read specific parts of the text. This is where you might have to open up a different tab for it. But it does say in our week 1 part 2 folder, apologies for that you are going to be reading specific pages and responding in a they say, I say journal number 1. And you're also going to be looking at articles. This is skimming and reading articles. It says to be used with discussion board number 2. So here in a minute, I'll show you what that looks like more precisely. There is another discussion board titled Discussion Board Number 2, An Effective Reader Understands Summaries. So as we go through, this is an 8-week course, so you are going to be writing an essay almost every 2 weeks. That leads up to 3 essays. So there may be more specific content in some folders than there are others, which is why I give you time. There's also another discussion board because the first essay that you're going to be writing, you're going to actually begin and look at its instructions within this week's folder, but it is not due in week 1. Okay, the essays will always have different due dates than what the online components are. But there is a discussion board that I would like you to look at after you look at your instructions. Okay, it also says to continue on in your to-do list and read some more pages in the They Say, I Say text. Reading these specific pages will take you to the They Say, I Say journal of number 2. Okay, and so our first essay will be a summary and response essay. I posted the instructions right here. I also included an outline, and this outline is simply just that. It just shows you what could go in each paragraph, and I'm about to take a second and go through all of this within this folder so that you can see it. I also included some of these resources for you. The Purdue OWL formatting link. It is a wonderful website that I use for all my composition classes. It teaches you what MLA is, a little bit of its background, how to cite, and what citing looks like. We also are being included with the Hill College Library link. Through the use of Hill College, through the use of your student account, we get access to databases in regards to the library. But we also can use JSTOR as an additional database. Databases are just online collections of books, media, magazines, what have you, of just information that is electronically submitted. And so the Hill College, apart from itself, has its own library database with hundreds of databases, but JSTOR is its own. That's why I included it like this. I also included this helpful guide on having to find sources because sometimes it's kind of hard to even go into there. But I also included the link. Notice the due date. For the specific things in this folder for week 1, part 2, would be the journal 1, discussion board number 2, discussion board number 3, They Say, I Say journal 2, and that's it. Because you are also viewing and looking at instructions of an essay, I do make sure to point that at the bottom. It says essay 1 will have an entirely different due date. So before we get all frantic about it, refer to its specifics for clarification. Its module for submission won't be until week 4, part 1. And this is only the week 1 folder. So let's go into the lecture slides for 1301, day 2 or part 2. It does tell you the same specifics that you see in the online folder. It tells you almost exactly how you would be looking at these if you were already looking at the folder. It tells you resources that are found. It tells you if you were doing this as a to-do list, what you would start off as. And I'm simply going in, and some of my instructions for this are just going back to the basics of what essay writing is. And so I have a few slides right here. You're more than welcome to view these at your own pace. But it does open up with the introduction of what a summary and response essay is. So there's a difference between different essays, and a summary and response essay, which is your first essay, is a type of essay that you are simply responding and summarizing an article, whatever topic of your choosing within its specific limitations, and just evaluating its validity or what it's trying to discuss. And so my components for this PowerPoint are just simply breaking down the idea of what that essay does, its objectives, and what we're trying to write within there. And again, you're more than welcome to go back in and just take your time with these slides. It does tell you additional lecture notes on what to do and to help you in its guiding. It does answer the question, what does a summary and response essay do? It gives you a definite summary of the article of your choosing because you get to decide what source it is and what topic it is. So this is very different than something you may have done. And any points that are made using quotes that are found in there. And you get to critique or evaluate the article. And when you structure your essay, don't forget to make sure that we are answering within the requirements of the essay. We also look at a step on writing the essay. You can choose your topic. You get to decide on the topic. You have to find and read a source to begin. Make an outline, whether in class or in person or however you need to make one. If you want to, start drafting. Make sure to use quotes from your sources. Write a works cited page. And a peer review if there's peer review sessions. And the final paper is turned in electronically. Now, within an essay, there are going to be words that you may need to use instead of the word they said or they stated. What other words can we use instead of those words that can make a really good impact on how something is brought to attention? So we can use the author affirms, the writer alleges, the psychologist added in their studies. Beautiful words. But then these are also continuation notes that you're more than welcome to look at. At your own pace, take time with these. We do understand that all of our essays will need to have works cited pages. So these are just reviews on what works cited pages do and what quotes are and how you're going to implement quotes within your essay. So when you're using quotes in an essay, we have to understand the difference between direct and indirect quotes. And I gave a little bit of examples on these next couple of pages. I also gave an example of what a works cited page is. So following an essay, when you're plugging in sources from wherever you find them, you have to give credit to the author with the works cited page, which is found on the back of your essay. And so many people may already know how to write a works cited page. Sometimes it's just the understanding of why it looks the way it does, but we also have additional resources that help us. And so for this works cited page, you only need one source. You're evaluating a source, an article found in a scholarly journal, and you are just telling me a little bit about it. So here in a minute, we'll probably go through that. And then we just spend some time in the folders and making sure that we understand what they go through. And so I'm going to take a pause right here so that way we understand that these are simply the lecture slides with the understanding that the essay instructions do come into it. But the essay is not due in the week 1 folder. It's simply there for you to start building it. Okay. So now I'm going to go to the next thing, which is the They Say, I Say Journal 1. I have to click on the journal, and it is a discussion board. It says after reading specific pages, it tells you that if you're reading pages 1 through 16 in the actual book, located at the bottom, they'll look like this. But if you're scrolling, just like I showed you, it'll have pages 14 through 29. So these are simply your statements and your reflection on reading. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to have to scroll all the way back up to my text. Notice that this is where the scrolling bar is. It'll tell you if it's the scrolling bar pages or the actual pages in the book. So it does tell you that you are going to need to read a few pages. Specifically, those pages will pertain to a certain journal. So if journal 1's only saying like 1 through 16, then you'll start wherever it says page 1 or page 15, whichever one you're looking at. But it does tell you that I would like you to answer the following questions. If they ask you questions in specifics like word counts, be sure to adhere to that. But if it's just answering a question within a complete sentence, be sure to do that as well. So some of these say one sentence summaries, some of them say specific things, and they just ask you to consider them and evaluate them. And this has a due date of October 26th. And after you're done, notice that a few people have already started. Thank you. You're going to start the thread. Okay, and I'm going to put right here, example for video, so that some of you are seeing this in real time, so that you can see that. I'm writing my subjects. You can answer in whatever font or whatever color, as long as it's appropriate, even appropriate size. But however you want to answer, if you ever want to answer these journals in numbers, listing, bullet points, however you would like to, you're more than welcome to. If it's simply just asking for you to write in specifics, be sure to do that as well. But don't forget to post. So I have to go back and post. Okay? And it appears right then and there automatically. Okay. So I'm going to go back. And I was right here. They say, I say journal. I'm doing this according to my checklist. So my checklist says, they say, I say, read journal 1. The next thing to do is skim these minimized article readings. So that should be a handout. I'm scrolling on this side, and it is a PDF. And so this is just a PDF of simple short readings. I'm going to make sure that I look at these. Some of these should automatically work. You're just simply going to click on some of these. But it just says to look at these. Okay? And there's plenty of them to choose from. About 14 of them. And so I can read a few in preparation for what discussion board number 2 says. But they all should automatically work. If they don't, please let me know. And you're simply skimming. You don't have to read all of them right now. But just simply look at the titles, simply look at what something is interesting. And I am going to click on its discussion board. Discussion board number 2, an effective reader understands summaries. It says, after reading, skimming through the minimized articles, choose 3, any 3 for this entry. It just says to write a summary of about 100 words for 3 of them. And you can write it as your own post. And you just write it in that format. You can list them, bullet, number them, however, summary 1, summary 2, and summary 3. So your own post of all 3 summaries will be one post. But then you're going to go in and step 2 saying that for you to reply to other people in a reply of 100 to 175 words per student. And make sure that you reply to 2 to 3 other students. Sorry, I clicked on it. I clicked on the settings. I'm so sorry about that. And so it does tell you its due date. And if you need remarks on how to reply to them, I included those as well. And so I'm going to start a new thread. I don't have anything to write in there just yet, but I'm going to put example for video. Okay, you can write point 1 or summary 1, point 2. Excuse my nephew in the background. He's running around like a lunatic. He's only 4, so he just started pre-K, so he gets excited. I apologize for that. Okay, and so I'm going to make sure that I post so that way you can see it. It's automatically posted, but this is for my video. But whenever you get the opportunity, you're just going to choose 3 of those articles, however you want to, and just write summaries. So you do have to go back and forth on tabs so that you don't get lost. So you get to choose any of these. Just look at their titles. If their titles look interesting, then maybe look at them that way. Okay, so the next thing on our list as I'm going through my checklist is this one. Okay, it says discussion board number 3. And discussion board number 3 says use this discussion board to simply list 3 to 5 possible topics that you would like to write for this essay. And so as we go into the essay instructions, you'll see it a little bit more clearer on what is expected, but you get to choose your topic. Because you're looking for certain specifications for this essay, you get to choose the topic. So think about it this way. This is a free range essay. You have to find the source that talks about it because you do have to discuss it. But think about things that you would like to possibly write about. And I wrote some examples. It says that this is just to get your mind in the right headspace. It is okay if you change your mind. It is okay if the topics that you write on here are not even one of the topics that you end up writing about. It's just a good outline. Okay, and its due date is Sunday, October 26th. Start the new thread. And I'm going to put this for the video example. So that way you see it. Example. I put my little letters in. Make sure that I post. That way everyone can see it. Okay. And then we also have another They Say I Say journal. So they're continuing. And I forgot what pages these are. So it just says, continue reading. They Say I Say, but this one says either 31 through 41 in the PDF pages, or in a specific number, it tells you the other pages at the bottom. Okay. Okay, so it says 31 through 41 in the text. And after I read those in the text, here's another They Say I Say journal for me. You do have to click on the topics for them to get there. And this one says, after reading the They Say I Say check, it says pages 31 through 41 if it's in the book, or page numbers 44 through 54 if it's in the scrolling numbers. Okay? And these are a couple of questions that I would like you to answer. And then this talks about the topics of thinking skills, and it just asks you to consider your writing. And these are closed journals. So I will say this, the They Say I Say journals, and I apologize for not saying this before, but the They Say I Say journals, you don't have to reply to people. This is just yours and only yours. You don't have to reply to anyone else, and you're not uploading it in any which way. You're simply just writing in the box. So for any They Say I Say journal, you do not have to reply. It just says this is meant to be a closed journal / discussion board. So because it's a journal, you don't have to reply to anybody else. Okay, I'm so sorry about not clarifying that sooner. You're going to start the discussion board. And this is my rubric on how I grade. So I'm going to put example for video. And then I'm going to put a couple letters. I'm just showing you where I'm putting it. And I'm going to post. But your They Say I Say journals, you do not have to reply to people. Okay. All right. So we have a couple more things left. And I just want to take time so that way you can see them. Okay. So our first essay has its instructions, and they should be available right here. You're more than welcome to print it off on your own time. And if you're ever on campus, you're more than welcome to come by and recap if you just need help with this. So this is our essay 1, summary and response. It does tell you for this assignment, you will be writing a summary and response essay with the topic of your choice within a journal article. And you're just going to describe it and summarize it to me. The text you will analyze will be found in an academic journal from one of the following: JSTOR, Academic Search Complete. These are databases found in Hill College. But I wrote this. Note, as this is an online class, other databases or sources are welcome from outside of Hill College. However, you have to let me know where they're from so I can check for their validity. Okay, so wherever you find a journal, article. So articles are just articles. They're found in journals, which are found in books, which are found online. That journal or article has to adhere to the following requirements. They have to be from 2000 and earlier. Okay, so 2000, 2001, 2002, 2010, 2015. Please don't get nothing from 1999 and back, because it is a little bit outdated, okay? It has to have at least one author, and the article itself has to be more than 4 pages. Not an abstract, an actual article, okay? And it has to be an article in an online journal, okay? So your structures for this is to be able to identify some of the following. What is the argument or claim that the author is trying to talk about? What are other things that they bring about? And any assumptions that you can take from this. Since you are responding to an article or finding, you should consider what strategies do they use to help expand on the topic. So your audience and context for this is the readers of the classroom. So write as if everybody would be reading it. But I do read these and grade these, but consider your audience. Consider if it's specifically targeted towards the classroom, specifically targeted towards a specific audience outside of a college, but consider your audience in the way that if they may not know this topic, you may have to elaborate a little bit on it. And I go over my purpose and outcomes for you, the overview of what we do within the course, whether online or in person, and the requirements for this essay. Because this is an essay that you do have to submit online, it does come with specifications. So this is an standard essay, which is Times New Roman size 12, double-spaced, 1-inch margins essay, proper works cited page at the very end with proper indented paragraphs. And it says this essay will require a works cited page. Failure to not submit one will result in a 0. And the MLA conventions for this is that the essay should be 1.5 pages to 2.5 pages. There's no word count specified for this, just as long as you meet the requirements. And there should be a proper heading at the very top. It says your name, course name and section, and my name. So in case you may not know, we are English 1301, section 85. This is my name, Professor Estrada with the E, fall 2025. And then I put Q2 to indicate this is a second 8 weeks course. This is my criteria and advice on how to do this. It says the first thing to do is study the text. Based off your reading, what can you consider and discuss even further? And try to develop an outline that will help you with that. So I look at my criteria. We're looking at selecting details, points possible out of 20, academic content, point possible out of 20. All of them are points possible out of 20, actually. Focus, do you have an introduction and conclusion? And your structure mechanics. And so I have in big bold letters when this is due. This will be due, as you see, Wednesday, November 12th at 11:59. There will be a submission module for you to find in one of the folders for you to upload. Okay? Failure to not turn in will result in automatic deduction of 25 points. However, to not turn in at all, at least by Friday, November 14th at 11:59 at night, electronically will result in a 0. And so this is an essay that you will need to turn in as an electronic copy in Brightspace within the week 4 part 1 folder. You will be uploading the essay in Brightspace. I will not accept email attachments or web links in lieu of the essay. An electronic copy in Brightspace will need to be submitted to me in order to receive a grade. Okay, you can use a late pass on this specific essay, but it has to be sent or emailed to me by Tuesday, November 11th at 10 p.m. in order to take effect, because then I write it down for my records. Okay, and so it does look like a lot at a glance. So the instructions are simply finding an article and summarizing it. And so sometimes we kind of need to know what we're writing within the essay, and so this is my outline for it. And this kind of tells you almost what will go in every paragraph. So I had to click on the outline to get there. Okay. So introduction, introduce your topic. Body paragraph 1, summarize the article. So you do have to find one. This requires a little bit of research. This paragraph can be used exclusively to just write about the summary of the article. And respond to the article in a following body paragraph. And other body paragraphs you can use to detail, use information. What do they do? How are they evaluated? What else can you build? And your conclusion. And be sure to include quotes, whether indirect, paraphrase, summary, however, in your paper. You're sprinkling in supporting quotes that are from the source that talk about it in your paper. And I included these resources that will help you. So Purdue OWL, like I said, is a beautiful MLA-based website. It tells you the resources on what MLA is, what MLA does, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, but it does tell you how to cite, because citing is something that you do. You're going to go in and cite these things. And if you know how to do this, then this is just a refresher for you. But this beautiful website, I use it for all my composition classes, is just a beautiful resource that helps you look at what citing is. And so it tells you what MLA is. It tells you how to cite specific things. It tells you what a sample works cited page will look like at the end of an essay. And now it's not working. Okay. That's how a works cited page is going to look like at the end of your essay. It's going to show you how they look like with 1 or 2 or even 3 sources. This one has multiple sources, but we're only going to need 1 for ours. And this does show you a sample paper. So if I open it up, it should give us an example of what an actual essay looks like using the conventions of MLA. And then it's not loading. It's probably taking a while, but this is okay. Anyways, it should show that, but I'll continue. Okay. And so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find a database that talks about or uses articles or journals. So JSTOR is its own database. It's its own collection of online media that you can find articles in. So this is just one database. I don't know why it's being all crazy, but there should be a little like search bar up here, And it should have, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, there it is. It's taking forever. Okay. Anyways, it's not doing that. Okay, so this was the search bar. Sorry about that. So what you're going to do is, because you get to decide the topic of your choosing, and you're going to find an article that talks about it. It could be anything. It could be politics. It can be whatever you want. If you need it to be specifically tailored to a keyword, you may have to be filtered out in your thing. So let's just say I'm putting politics. Okay, it's just something that I thought of at the top of my head. But I want to talk about politics. And I'm simply going to find an article that discusses it, okay? And so the beauty of JSTOR as its own database, because this is just one of the few databases that you can use other ones. But because I want an article that is found within a journal, I have to filter out. So through the JSTOR website, you saw me go through that, I have to filter out only journals, okay? As the instructor, I'm also asking you that it has to be from 2000 through the year that we're in right now, 2025. So nothing from like 1979, 1955. Okay, so here's a few. Okay, so based off of this is just the JSTOR database. Here's a bunch of them. Okay, these are all journals. They tell you the title, they tell you the author, they tell you where it's from. I'm just going to pick one of these random ones. And all I have to do is read. Okay, here's one right here. Women in political participation. This one sounds really interesting. So JSTOR will automatically open it up. If it gives you the ability to read it as a PDF, then it should open up. And let's see if it does. JSTOR may be taking a while. Okay. So it does. All right, so this is a preview. So I would have to log in using my account off of the student access or instructor access of Hill College. If it allows you that, okay? JSTOR may not, but if not, there's other databases. JSTOR is just a really good one that I would like to use, but there's dozens of them, okay? So here's another one. Let's try, this is just JSTOR, so teaching politics in Antigone, or house politics and city politics. And again, you only have to summarize and look at one. It can be something that you just found interesting. This one sounds interesting. The rise and fall of nasty politics in America. Okay. So it allows me to read and download through my school if I need to sign in. But this is just JSTOR, okay? This is just JSTOR. This is just one database. It's not the end of the world if we don't find another one. But here is the Hill College one. But you may have different access to different databases according to who you are. So this is just through the Hill College as you are given access to ours. So Hill College has its own database, LibGuides, and I have to open up the folder for you to see that. And so this is what that looks like. I'm closing out of all my other tabs so that way we have a clear view of what we're looking at. And so whenever we get to the Hill College website, these are all the databases that Hill College has access to. So there's hundreds of them, okay? Hundreds and hundreds of them. So you can start off with a database that specifically targets a subject, a topic, a department, however you want to. You can go through some of these. You can go ahead and filter out your subject up here. You can look at subjects. You can look at it as a database, but there's a bunch of them. So here's a really good one that a lot of people will use, Academic One File or Gale. And this one you will need to log in and look at. You will need to use your own passwords to look at it. One of the things that I wanted to say with JSTOR, and you may find this convenient for others in databases, but because you will need to know how to cite something. So we're going to go back in, and I'm going to go back in and show you how I did this. But you will need to cite how that looks like at the end of your essay. So not only will you be reading your article as it downloads, at the very end, on the last page of your essay for the works cited page, you will need to cite it. So I like this for JSTOR, and I wanted to show you what it will look like. But for a lot of others, they may give you this option to do this. But JSTOR, when there is a cite button, the cite button may be found anywhere on the page. I try to find wherever it's at so I can cite it. But the cite, this item will tell you how it looks like specifically for MLA. So Chicago and APA are different ways to cite things for a paper. Whenever you get to other courses and other classes, they may require something different. But we use MLA in our English class. So at the end of your works cited page, at the end on a brand new page, you will copy and paste what the citation looks like. And I'm getting ahead of myself. I know it is a lot, but I promise you that as we look at these, you'll look at how it is helpful. And again, JSTOR is its own separate database, and the Hill College Library has hundreds of others. This is one of my last resources. This is just a general overview on how to find these and what goes into the essay. So we know at the end of our essay, we will need a works cited page. Our works cited page will only contain one source because we're only looking at one source in general. A source will typically have an author, last name, comma, followed by their first name, and a period. It will follow with a title and maybe the journal title itself, volume, number, whenever it was published, however many pages in that specific article, where you found it, and the website that we can find it on, and the date that it was accessed. Okay, so this is just a step-by-step guide. These are my screenshots on how to get there. So you'll be asked to find a journal within the Hill College Library website. So these are just step-by-step guides. If you're going through the Hill College Library, this is what it would look like. So specifically, if you were looking for a book, you would type in The Storm by Kate Chopin, and it'll pop up a lot of these. Okay. And if you were in JSTOR, just like I showed you, you can always click on the cite button, and the cite button will tell you how it would be cited for the back of the essay. And there's different ways on citing, but it does tell you at the very end of this guide how you would cite for your journal. Okay. And this says, for example, if using an online article found in a journal, use the following: the author's name, first and last, beginning with the author's last name. So Estrada, comma, Adriana, period. The title of the article. Notice this is the title of the article. The title of the journal. The volume, the issue, the year, the pages, and when it was accessed. And the website you find it on. Okay. And the word count link. The word count link is just this, so that way you have it if you need it. But because this is not due anytime soon, this is simply just something to go in. I hope this has been helpful. But this was just a video lecture guide for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Okay? But the most important button is your content button.